5, the annual management conclave of IMI Delhi. This year, we focus on the theme When the Next Generation Guides the Boardroom. The theme embodies a transformative era of leadership, the one driven by innovation, inclusivity, and purpose. It reflects a paradigm where emerging leaders bring fresh perspectives and digital agility to reimagine governance and organizational growth. At Conventus 2025, we explore how this new generation is not merely participating in decision making, but shaping the very future of leadership itself. On this note, we proudly present to you the Legal Innovation and Leadership Summit hosted by the Residential Affairs Committee of IMI Delhi. Before we proceed, we would like to play the Conventus 2025 theme video.
India, the nation of young hearts, stands at a new dawn, brimming with a vibrant generation, restless yet rooted, bold yet balanced, not waiting for a seat at the table, but redefining the very room at large.
As boardrooms evolve and the sidelines become the stage, we find ourselves at a pivotal point where lines between hierarchy and harmony blur, and wisdom finds its echo in youth.
Learnings from history, hope for the present, and dream for the future. They have it all.
A nation has come of age, and at Conventus 2025, we are writing its story. Here, courage is the currency and ideas are influence. So let's join hands to welcome the emerging dawn, to anticipate, shape, and embrace the change that will define our future.
My fellow compere Advait and I, Yashika, will guide you through the Legal Innovation and Leadership Summit of Conventus 2025. This year, we focus on the theme From Bureaucracy to Bench, Leadership Lessons for Corporate Governance. Across India, civil servants and judicial leaders are driving digitization, transparency, and citizen-first reforms. Lessons that hold deep relevance for corporate leaders navigating volatile markets and rising societal expectations. Their resilience and innovation in governance offer a blueprint for boards seeking sustainable growth and ethical decision making. Our goal is not mere compliance, but to turn governance into a catalyst for trust, impact, and competitiveness. This summit will explore how governance can evolve to balance stability with flexibility, fostering innovation without losing direction. We'll examine how transparent and accountable leadership can strengthen decision making and how lessons from bureaucracy and the judiciary can inspire governance models that are agile, fair, and responsive, paving the way for resilient ethical leadership. Before we proceed, we would like to play the sub-theme video.
India's governance landscape is transforming. From the corridors of bureaucracy to the benches of justice, a new generation of leaders is redefining what it means to lead with purpose and integrity. Through digitalization, transparency, and citizen reforms, bureaucrats and judicial reformers are proving that governance can be both accountable and adaptive. These lessons extend far beyond public service. For corporate leaders, they offer a blueprint: how to balance structure with innovation, compliance with creativity, and ethics with efficiency. Or the judiciary's resilience in precedent-based decision-making to the bureaucracy's agility under pressure. Both systems highlight the power of disciplined leadership and adaptive governance. When corporates adopt the bureaucratic ethos of service and the judiciary's commitment to fairness and accountability, governance evolves from mere compliance to a catalyst for sustainable success. For today's fast-changing world, governance is not just about policies or profit. It's about purpose, how organizations respond to crisis, uphold integrity, and earn trust. Yet, even the strongest corporations face challenges: regulatory complexity, ethical dilemmas, and the pressure to perform in volatile markets. That's why dialogue between public and private leadership has become more important than ever. The Legal Innovation and Leadership Summit 2025 bridges the wisdom of governance from the bureaucracy and the bench with the dynamism of corporate leadership to inspire ethical, future-ready corporate governance. Cause is to foster transparent, responsible governance that builds trust, fairness, and innovation. At Conventus 2025, the Residential Affairs Committee unites leaders across sectors to make governance a shared mission for a better tomorrow.
To begin with this summit, we welcome Professor Ayona Bhattacharjee, Associate Professor of Economics at IMI Delhi, as our moderator for today's session. She holds a PhD in Economics from IIM Bangalore, a Master's from JNU, and a BSc from Presidency College, Kolkata. Before joining IMI, she taught at OP Jindal Global Business School and gained industry experience with Symphony Market Solutions and HSBC Analytics. Apart from academics, she has worked on research projects with UNESCAP, WHO, and ICRIER. We now invite ma'am to the stage and request Secretary of Residential Affairs Committee Abhishek Pandey to hand over the token of gratitude to our moderator. We are delighted to have you, ma'am.
Bridging the worlds of bureaucracy, judiciary, and corporate governance requires visionary leadership and transformative insights. We now move forward with the introduction of our distinguished speakers for the summit. We are honored to welcome our first speaker, Mr. D.K. Gupta, Whole-time Director, Vice President, Legal, Regulatory and Company Secretary at Cable and Wireless Global Private Limited, the India arm of Vodafone PLC UK. With over 28 years of experience in legal, regulatory and corporate governance, he has guided strategic decisions in the telecom sector and held leadership roles at TRAI, Competition Commission of India, IL&FS Energy and Estel Private Limited. He holds qualifications including FCS, MBA, MPhil, LLB and is a PhD scholar. We are especially delighted to have him back with us, as he had earlier been a visiting faculty for the Legal Aspects of Business course from 2002 to 2005, when he captivated students with his practical insights and rich industry experience. We now invite Sir to the stage and request Ma'am to hand over the token of gratitude to our first speaker. We are delighted to have you, sir.
Our next speaker is Ms. Rachna Goria, Company Secretary and Compliance Officer at Dalmia Bharat Sugar and Industries Limited. With over 28 years of experience in corporate governance, compliance, and legal advisory, she has been instrumental in strengthening governance frameworks and ensuring regulatory excellence, upholding the company's commitment to ethical and transparent practices. We now invite Ma'am to the stage and request Professor Bhattacharjee to hand over the token of gratitude. We are delighted to have you, ma'am.
Our next speaker is Mr. Amar Sundaram, General Counsel, Senior Vice President Legal and Chief Compliance Officer at NEC Corporation India Private Limited. With over 29 years of experience in corporate law, governance, risk management and strategy, he has led legal and compliance functions across global organizations. At NEC India, he drives legal excellence, ethical governance and supports strategic business growth. We now invite Sir to the stage and request Ma'am to hand over the token of gratitude. We are delighted to have you, sir.
Our next speaker is Mr. Ajay Kharbanda, Chief Legal Officer, North and West Sector at GMR Airports Limited. With over 31 years of experience in corporate law, infrastructure, regulatory affairs, and dispute resolution, he has managed complex legal matters across major aviation projects. At GMR Airports, he leads the legal function for the North and West regions, driving compliance, governance, and strategic growth. We now invite Sir to the stage and request Ma'am to hand over the token of gratitude. We are delighted to have you, sir.
We are pleased to welcome our final speaker for the day, Mr. Anuranjan Prasad, Head of Legal for India, East Asia and Korea at Baxter International. With over 28 years of experience, he oversees regulatory compliance, contracts, dispute resolution and corporate governance across multiple countries, bringing deep expertise in cross-border legal and regulatory matters in the healthcare sector. We now invite Sir to the stage and request Ma'am to hand over the token of gratitude. We are delighted to have you, sir. I now invite Professor Ayona Bhattacharjee to take over the role of moderator and expertly lead the proceedings of today's summit.
Thank you very much. Thanks for hosting this particular panel discussion. We all are looking forward to this very interesting topic. As has been rightly portrayed and summarized just a while back, this particular panel is going to explore leadership values from India's two most respected institutions, the bureaucracy and the judiciary, and how they can shape stronger corporate governance, which I guess is absolutely pertinent and very relevant for future managers. So corporate governance in India operates under multiple frameworks. Coordination between judiciary and the regulatory bodies determine how well these laws are going to be implemented. On one hand, a variety of technical measures are being adopted to improve the judicial system in terms of digitizing court records, filing cases online, providing e-court services. On the other hand, bureaucrats are transforming governance by shifting from a rule-based hierarchical system to one which is focused on citizen-centric service delivery as well as digital innovation. These approaches are likely to create valuable parallels for businesses navigating volatile markets and facing the rising societal expectations. To further deliberate on this particular issue, I have with me a panel of extremely esteemed speakers from the industry. And on behalf of IMI Delhi, I would really want to extend a warm welcome to all of them. And we are really pleased to have them amongst us today to shed light on this particular topic. So without further ado, I would like to highlight the fact that we are going to have given the time constraint, I know we would have all loved to listen to all of their experience and a lot of insights that they come with. We will restrict ourselves. We will have a set of questions. Maybe we will reserve the last 10 or 15 minutes for Q&A from the students. I don't think we can do justice to this particular topic by restricting it to just 10-15 minutes. But in the interest of time, the first set of questions will be answered by our panelists. Maybe we will devote around 3 or 4 minutes for each of these questions. And we'll come back with more specific questions in the second round. And then we sum it up and have the Q&A and we open up the floor for further discussions. Okay, so that's how we are going to go ahead. I guess that's fine with all of you. All right. So the first thing that I would like to learn from you all, and we are all expecting to know this better, is what are your thoughts on whether the corporate leaders face challenges which are similar to those which are encountered in public administration? Maybe you could shed some light individually on this particular issue, even before we venture into understanding the kind of parallels we can draw for corporate governance in India from the judicial and the bureaucratic reforms. Okay, so we'll start with you, sir. Yes, Mr. D.K. Gupta, then.
Thank you. Hello. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, so first of all, I'm very happy to see Gukesh Kumar on your presentation. So it's a 3 cheers to the Students' Welfare Committee to include Gukesh into the Corporate Governance Board, which clearly says the focus. Thank you so much. I'm very, very impressed on this. Now coming to the point, uh, actually somehow I am in sync with this proposition, because we are living in times where the judicial reforms, the bureaucratic reforms, and the organizational corporate governance reforms are equally going simultaneously, right? The thing is that whether the bureaucrats are also feeling the same challenges as the corporate people are feeling, my view is that in the current times, bureaucracy is very, very clear on having this transformation. Because, first of all, we are the country where the digital transformation is very, very speedy. And because of digital transformation, the parallel, the departments, the organizations, they are putting up, the policies, the frameworks, everything, which is actually coming as a loading to the corporates. And corporates at the same time are facing the same challenges, that how do we adopt this? And a very simple example, if I may relate to this, is, for example, if we remember the three trinity of the Jandhan, Aadhaar, and mobility, I mean, this is a pure example of the bureaucracy. They said 24/7 that how this amount reaches to the farmers directly into their accounts. And that is one of the most quoted bureaucratic decision worldwide. And hence, the corporates also, moved into the same fashion. That now, because the umbrella at the top is heading towards the inclusion of the challenges, then we should also be ready. Now, the only thing which I want to share with you, that when we enter into the corporates as a workers, we should be very thoroughly aware about that what bureaucracy is going to do, because there is a concept of consultation now started with the government. The government is very hurry in bringing out a lot of legislations and change into this. So our purpose sitting into the organization is that how do we correlate these consultations, keeping in mind the governance, and flare it up. This is how I would take it as a challenge to both of them right now. But yes, the only one word which I wish to share with the generation to come is that there is a word called institutionalization. So the intent of institutionalization of these organizations, the policies, the challenges, the practices, it is most important. It is very well coming into the organization and the government side.
Thank you very much. That's a very important point, a very important takeaway. The focus on institutionalization and how to reach out to the customers or the consumers in a large country like ours. Thank you very much. We move on to our second panelist for her thoughts.
Thank you so much. And thank you all the students. First of all, I would like to congratulate you all. I think you guys are already leaders. You have organized such a wonderful event. You are leaders already. So let's give something more to you from our personal experiences. So as rightly said by Mr. Gupta, institutionalization, as he rightly said, I would move on from there. Like, there are so many changes, obviously, in legal, judicial reforms, digitization. We keep hearing all of them. They are so much in, and we have to be updated about it. We have to implement them, like bureaucracy implements the laws which are framed by the I would say parliament. They are now implementing in the country. Similarly, in organizations and corporates, it is we, the leaders, the board of directors, we have to implement all of them. And how do we move it and have it in our organizations? That's the challenge. We have to see how best we can have them in our organizations. So, like for anything in an organization, when we have to move on, have it implemented, what is most important thing? I think we have to have our internal controls. We have to have our standard operating procedures. We have to have our SOPs, that how it has to happen. because corporates are also like large corporate. It is not concentrated at one location or at one office. You have multiple, plants, multiple offices. So all these things have to be implemented at all the locations. How do you ensure? How do you ensure that whatever new change, say we sitting in the corporate office, we might be aware, updated, but what about our peers at various different locations? Maybe not the head office. We have to have our SOPs. We have to have again the digitization, which is very important. How do you get the MIS from the entire all the people that what is happening and how best they are implementing? Because what board of director needs, how are you doing it? What is the organizational structure? How best you can do it? So you have to have your SOPs, get the updated information, then consolidate it and present it to the board that this is it. Then only your board also gets the confidence, because these days it is not simply complying with some law. Now digitization is available. You have AI, you have digitization. So even simple organizations, it is not like earlier we used to make MIS and like I'm in the sugar industry, for example. So we have farmers. So how do you expect farmers to know certain things? And we want our business to be improved upon. How best we are in sugar. We want the farmers to sow sugarcane. Why would they do it? How do we know they are doing it or they are not doing? So we have to approach them. How do we approach? We can't go to each and every farmer. So we have a digitized way. We have now the WhatsApp. We have the various apps. We have to frame it. We get the live information. What are they doing on their farms? Are they doing it? What is the stage? What is the timing for doing various things? So this is how we have to get the use of digitization. It is not just the word of digitization, but use of digitization in an organization that get the complete data, information, let it reach to the every concerned person and come back in an MIS form so that correct decisions, leaders can take the right decisions based on the data which they get it and how best they can get their policies and things implemented at the root level at each and every level. So that's what I would like to say. There are so many changes, but having them implemented, that's again a challenge. Like bureaucracy has challenge to implement. They have to implement probably in the country. We have to implement everything in our organization. So that is how we have to do it. That is what I would like to just add.
Thank you very much. That nicely sums up a lot of pertinent issues. Thanks, Ms. Rachna, for this, for highlighting the fact that how digitization is panning out and the role of having SOPs in place as well as the internal control systems in place, which is absolutely essential for effective corporate governance. So with this thought, we move on to our third panelist. So over to you, sir, for your thoughts.
Thank you, Professor Ayona. India is a large populated country, and no reforms can be done in isolation either by the government or by the corporate sectors. There has to be a collaboration between the government sectors and the corporate sectors, and then only those reforms will be meaningful and successful. In recent years, we have seen a lot of infrastructural developments which is happening in the country, which is the result of the PPP model, right? The public-private partnership models which has come up. You see the lot of roads which are developed in India. Right? Those are so well seen in the world today. The roads have developed. But there is a public-private collaboration which is there. Any kind of a reform that we talk about, there has to be joint effort by the government sectors and the private sectors. See the field of aviation. I mean, of course, Ajay is here to talk more about it, but aviation, infrastructure, these are smart cities you see, right? These are the collaborative efforts of both the corporate sector. You take the example of Aadhaar. I mean, Aadhaar is a remarkable change which brought in India, and the way Aadhaar was linked to banks and the financial institutions. This entire concept of Aadhaar was a joint collaboration between government and the private sectors. The first and the biometrics devices were used. So ultimately, the collaboration has to happen between the two entities, and then only the success will happen. Now, in terms of the challenges, of course, being a large populated country, there will be challenges that what you decide at the top has to reach at the bottom. Right? You may take some policy decision at the top, but if it doesn't reach to the bottom of the intended recipient, there will be a problem. Just like corporate sector, where we might take in the boardroom, the leadership team might take certain decisions which will be beneficial to the end customers, the end client, where the product or the services are intended to be. Similarly, the reforms and the policies where the government brings in, it has to reach to the each and every citizen of the country. And that is the real challenge with both of us, corporates and the organizations like government sectors feel. Uh, One notable change which we must have read, which was witnessed in last 2 to 3 years, is a lateral hiring. So if you see in recent times, many of the government organizations, they started lateral hiring, moving away from their UPSC civil services, IAS and IPS coming in. So many of the people were brought in at the joint secretary level directly from the expert organization. Many of the big force people moved from their big force to the government sectors at a joint secretary level. There were a lot of different views coming from different schools, but the fact remains that the government was very keen to bring in experts from these private organizations who are real experts into the government sectors. And this was seen in the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Forest, Climate Change, Cyber Security. So because there are professionals who are experts in the private domain who the government felt that could add more value to what they are doing. So that collaboration is happening between the public sectors and the private sectors. And this collaboration is going to increase as we move forward. On the point of digitization, just one angle that, and both of us face the same challenge. In the corporate sectors, we are also facing a lot of challenges in terms of the fast pace of the development of the technology. Similarly, the government is talking about digitization of revenue records. For example, today there is a lot of talks that all your property records, property papers, all will get digitized at one place. But that's a huge mammoth exercise. You can't do that unless there is a collaboration between the government and the private sectors.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sundaram, for very effectively putting it through that how important it is to focus on the PPP model, which has been in place, which has shown us a lot of instances whereby we see the collaboration being effectively put through with the government and the private sector in place. And you've towards the end, you touched upon a very important point of digitization. We will again come back to you on this particular aspect, which requires a lengthy discussion, of course. But thanks for highlighting these few points. And now we move on to our next panelist.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ajay Kharbanda. Amar had touched a very basic point of similarity, and that's where the similar challenges being faced by corporate world as by the public administration. If we look how India has evolved, or for that matter, any other country, initially public administration, as we all know, was on a basis of government, rule-based government, where the administration was supposed to see that they are running the country, they are the decision maker. The way social justice was being performed was very different. Then came the liberalization scenario in 90s, the government, where the PPP came into the picture. The things which were being done by the government were started or looked after to be performed by the private sector. And when this happened, this change happened, reforms happened in India, so participation of the government moved to the governance, which included both government, public administration, and private sector, NGOs. All those were becoming a cohesive structure to govern the country. And a lot of businesses which were hitherto confined to the government were opened up for private sector. And the way the businesses were being performed, a lot of reforms happened. That brought challenges for the private sector as well to work for the society at large, to bring a lot of transparency. So far, private sector was primarily governed by profit, but besides the profit, it is what change or what impact a private organization is bringing to the public also become a benchmark, which has got strengthened over a period of time. through United Nations goals also, ESG norms came into the picture for everyone to adopt worldwide, not in India, but worldwide. So integration on ESG mechanism was becoming more relevant factor, and it has become more relevant today. Even economies and banking institutions are giving a lot of prominence to the ESG. Resultant to that, what has happened, transparency, globalization, accountability have become more stronger compared to what it was, if we say 20 years ago, 50 years ago in India. Resultantly, any actions which today even private sector has to change or private sector has to take up are no more different from what public administration has to do. They have to work in a manner where they bring impact to the society. Today, I see promoters also see and ask their CSR heads, what is the ROI for the organization? How I'm able to, with my efforts, bringing change in the society. So that mindset has changed. Resultantly, the leaders in any organization, their actions have also to be governed by a lot of transparency, accountability, and globalization is bringing that change to us. And I think more will happen with the way government is coming out with the reforms. The way of working is changing. Technology adoption is becoming a core aspect of doing the business. More focus will be on ESG scenarios. Today, what we are doing, what our regulators are requiring us to report on ESG, those will get further strengthened. So with this, definitely challenges are much similar to the public administration and to the corporate world at this time, which will further grow. That's my view.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kharbanda, for highlighting the importance of working for the society rather than just looking at the profit motives, and how the importance on accountability, transparency, and ESG is coming into being, and how well the corporates also need to be aligned towards achieving these targets. We will again come back to you with certain questions related to ESG and its relevance. But for the time being, we again move on to our next panelist, Mr. Prasad, for answering this particular issue.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So I think my co-panelists have spoken a lot about it, but I just to add my perspective towards it. When we talk about challenges and whether the corporate leader challenge is same as in public administration that you see, I think the simple answer is yes, it is. Probably the scale is different. As our people here, you must have heard people talking about it. When we talk about India as a country, it is union of states. You have a state government, you have a union government, there are policies, there are laws which are governed in a particular manner. They have to be implemented across, we want consistencies that is there. Then we talk about in implementation of this, there are challenges that we face, and I'm sure that some of your team members who have organized this event, the challenges, and these are my personal view, the challenges remains the same. It is just the scale that changes. When you are organizing an event, when you are implementing anything new, you always have to deal with situations like, what is the purpose? Why am I doing it? At a bureaucracy level, there's a purpose is, again, if it is being done at a central level, it has to be dealt and thought in the form of the center and 29 states that you're going to get implemented. If you're talking about the purpose, then you have to see that whether we will be able to align with various other ministries, various other functions that is there. Then you also have to see that it gets implemented to serve the purpose. So I think this is how, at a very high level, a bureaucracy works. When you come to a corporate, when CEO is operating, he has got different team members. And if there is a task and there is a purpose that he wants to achieve, he also has to go through the same process. All the examples that we have heard has gone through that process. So I think challenges are same. It is about the magnitude, it is about the accountability. And just to touch on the accountability part, Ajay mentioned here, earlier it was only the government which was being viewed as accountable for it. Now, the corporates are equally accountable, whether it is public or private in some or the other form. By force of law, there is accountability of all the corporate sectors towards the society at large. We are, as per law, if you are earning certain money from by doing a business in the country, you're also accountable to actually give it back to the society in a form of a CSR fundings. So responsibility and accountability is almost the same for the corporate also. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for tying all these bits and pieces together, and by highlighting how they actually face similar challenges. It's just a matter of the scale and implementation which makes a lot of difference. So definitely we've touched upon some of the critical aspects of learning from judiciary or the bureaucratic system and the parallels that we can draw for corporate governance in the Indian context. So thank you very much for sharing all these thoughts. With this in mind, we would like to move on to the next round of questions. And in this perspective, we would like to know about what leadership principles from bureaucracy or the bench would you think are going to be most relevant to India's corporate governance journey today, and particularly in your sector. So given your experience in the particular sector, also let us know about what you think could be some of the leadership principles which the corporate leaders of the future need to adopt to. So over to you again. We will follow the same format. So over to you, Mr. Gupta, for this.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. I think in my view, the most important and critical leadership message, both for the bureaucracy and for the corporate leaders, is inclusion. Because we are currently driving a boat which has a speed and which has a transformation. So many people say digital transformation is actually over. We are now heading towards generative AI. So the government is also very, very clear about it. Generative AI, as of now, may have its responsibilities attached to it, and therefore the laws and regulations are to be framed in time. As I am coming from a telecom sector, I can quote a lot of things have gone into telecom sector, because we have seen telecom in 1995 when the monopoly of the BSNL was there. And the TRAI was the first regulator in the country which was actually established to regulate the sector in a very fair way. So it was the first regulator which actually evolved with a consultative process. And slowly, I think most of us, we know that telecom has come from that era to this era. But to quote in a very short, because we don't have much time, most important thing is, even if you visit a DOT site today, you will find that you are actually entering into the solution mode rather than the question mode. So may it be a right of way permission, may it be some complaint on, Sanchar Sathi, everything is now online. So the adoption by the government is also very, very speedy. And because every law and every direction which comes from the government, the corporate has to adopt it. But the very clear thing is that the consultative process, it is a consultative process. The only thing is that once you are through with the infrastructure to deal with it, we are good to go. For example, the latest case you might have read in the newspapers, the caller name address will now come on your phones, so the government was in a massive hurry that because of these digital arrests and so many things, people do not know from where the call is coming in. So we are working day and night since last 6 months, all the operators together with the government agencies. I mean, I must share with you that the era of the law enforcement agencies, maybe it IB or the CBI, everybody, AB, income tax, everyone is going towards digital adoption now. And somehow we are trying to launch this. Now you will get the name of the person who is calling to you on the phone. So this is the speed which is citizen centric, number one. Number two is that how corporates adopt it to convey to their boards that now we are actually adopting the governance practices into it. And from there, I am coming to the institutionalization mechanism. And I think since you are the B school students, you know that institutionalization requires some of the moderators which affect the institutionalization. And the most critical for India perspective is the discourse mechanism, which people actually generally resistance to change. They don't want to do it. And the two is the normative learnings. That is another variable which actually affects to the institutionalization. So normative learning is one of the most critical part for all of us now in corporates, that we educate to the board, we educate to the down level, the upper level, everywhere. And most critical to the customers also, because they, for example, in our country, the senior citizen ratio is very high. So it's very difficult to educate them. So this is also one of the agenda in telecom sector to telecom companies, that it should not happen that the only B school students should get to know what is the digital. At the same time, we must also teach to the females, the old age ladies, and to the senior citizens. So everything goes in parallel. Currently, we are, I think, into an era where, according to me, most of the things are going in a right direction. However, if we want to say that whether the bureaucracy is perfect, judiciary is perfect, corporate is perfect, this time is to say that no, actually. We are actually adopting, we are devising the laws, devising the rules, devising the penalties, everything. So in my sector, I can share a lot of things here, but the most important is to just visit the DOT website. You will find that how transformative era in telecom has come. So I think at this juncture, I will hand over to.
Thank you very much. You've rightly pointed out that there's a lot to talk about, especially in the sector that you are in. And given that it's one of the fastest growing sectors in India and the way it's going to be instrumental in driving growth in the country. But the challenges remain because of the demographic issues that are there, which requires inclusivity. So that's not an easy thing to overcome. So these are certain things probably which future managers also need to look out for. With this thought in mind, we move on to our next panelist, Ms. Rachna, to deliberate on the topic.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll start, as ma'am just said, it's about leadership principles. What should be the principle for a leader to follow? I'll start from there. See, there are, I would say, about two perspectives of a leadership. One leader would say, I take the ownership, I take the responsibility of a particular thing. I have to achieve a particular thing, and I am taking this ownership. He will have the subordinates, he will delegate the work, and he will keep the control over that, and he will ensure that the things are done ultimately. So what is this? This is kind of market contracts. So you have subordinates, you have given a work, they have given it back. That's about it. Second perspective is there is a leader who wants to make further leaders, sustainable leadership. How will they create? They will delegate the work and forget it, because they need not to be bothered about day-to-day things. They will be more engaged with the constructive thing and the more important things. So the leaders are now generating. They are in the pipelines. They are more inclusive. They take the ownership. They get more involved and they become leaders. So I recall once upon a time I was being told by my senior that, look, it's not about you are very good at work, fine, wonderful. But what is more important, how many good leaders you have created under you? Because ultimately what will happen if the leaders under you are growing, you will grow automatically. You will have much more time for your own more constructive things. So this is the perspective. So there are two perspectives. This is psychological contract, because you are creating a workforce who will then create further leaders. So that is how we have a sustainable leadership. So same way in an organization, whether it is a corporate, whether it is government, whichever organization we go. I mean, it's not that everything will be done by the Prime Minister. We have the ministries, we have the ministers. Everybody has got their own portfolio and they decides and they make the policies. Yes, of course, there is a proper procedure for that. And then everything goes down, drill down to the lower levels, and everything gets implemented. So that's the leadership principle, that how do you get the thing, whether it is digitization, any kind of perspective, whatever needs to be implemented, there has to be proper channel, and you have to trust your people, you have to further delegate, you grow yourself when your people under you are growing. So you have to give proper chance and the responsibility so that people feel involved in a particular thing and they can give their best. And if they give their best, you are giving your best. That's your exam, and that's your thing, how best you are giving as a leader. So that's the leadership principle I would like to say. And whatever as the decisions, like say laws are changing every day, whether it is digitization, any law, anything, they are changing every day. So one person alone cannot do everything. So it has to be through proper channel, and everything has to be implemented. And that is how you have to take the call and get the things implemented, whatever it is. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you very much for highlighting these two ways of looking at leadership, whether one takes ownership or makes sure that there is a sustainable chain of leaders to follow. Of course, both these channels have a lot of implications for corporate governance. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Sundaram, for your thoughts.
And this subtopic is very relevant for all of you, because all of you are going to be the future leaders. And one of the leadership traits that I really admire, and I feel that each one of us should have, you, since you are going to be the future leaders, is integrity and compliance. Right? You can't succeed in any system, you can't succeed in any organization unless you have that element of integrity and compliance. The world has changed today. It's not the same era that we have lived in, and this is an era of compliance. Most of the corporate organizations now, you will see there is a huge thrust, there is a huge mechanism where a lot of focus is on the compliance and ethics. Organizations today want to be compliant. They want to comply with the laws, regulations, policies. It's not, the effort is not to just brush it aside. India has seen a lot of scams, a lot of cases, right from Enron to Satyam to Gitanjali James to Chanda Kochar to PNB, all these scams we have seen where the effort of the top management and the leadership was to brush aside the red flags. The whistleblower complaints were there. There were indications that something is going wrong. But the effort at that point in time was just to brush it aside, put it under the carpet. And that has led to huge scams. Go to Satyam. Satyam is one of the landmark cases in India, which has really exposed the whole system. Right? And if you go at the genesis of most of these scams, you will see that the element was, the effort of the top leadership was to brush it aside. Today, the situation has changed. The regulators worldwide, not only in India, the regulators worldwide have become very, very conscious. They are, and that's a recent change, which is what we see in India in last 3 years. One regulator is talking to another regulator, which was not the case earlier. Chanda Kochar is a perfect example case, which is all in the public domain, where you see different investigative agencies, they are investigating the case. It is SFIO, it is ED, it is CBI, it is EOW. Different agencies are now involved. Right? So gone are those days where corporates will do a scam and they will be able to run away with it. And at the core of this is your integrity. And integrity is something which you don't develop immediately. It is something which starts from your house, something which starts from your college days, something which starts from your educational days. It is something which you need to build in. Integrity, transparency, compliance, these are some of the traits which will make you a better leader in a corporate sector.
Thank you very much for bringing in the issue of the landmark cases which we have in place, which exposed issues of governance failure time and again. and the implications that these cases have for understanding the importance of integrity and also compliance with the changing world conditions and the world order. So these are very important issues to look out for and to be watchful about. So thank you very much for highlighting these issues. We move on to Mr. Kharbanda for his thoughts.
What we, as a corporate, we are looking today, 4 leadership principles from judiciary and from the bureaucracy. In my view, these are the 4. While my friends have touched upon those aspects. To me, building public trust, be accountable, reform the way they work, and digitize them are the 4 leadership principles which they follow. Definitely, that will make the whole change in the system. As you have talked about the compliance, I'll give you one example. How the jurisdictions beyond India are working and how corporate system is developed there. It is not that like you would see everything in Indian system what it was at some point of time. There are do's and don'ts you do, and if you don't do, then these are the penalties which are imposed. Worldwide, other jurisdictions, they don't work like this. They give you path, they give you ability to do the work, but they do not afford any non-compliance, any breach. They give you full freedom, but they keep an eye on what you are doing, and if you are not doing it correctly, then you have to report that what you have not done correctly. It is not that somebody will keep an eye. Somebody is keeping an eye. So there are people who would be the whistleblower for them. But once this happens, then there is no way out for them to be out of that. For example, I'll give you. Long back, you take loans from the financial institutions. Thousands of covenants are in the financial documents. You follow, you don't follow. But when you go to the outside market, financial market, what they look at, what breaches you have done in the financial conditions. If there are breaches, they are not coming forward to finance you. They do not tolerate the breach. That's how they do the work. Not the system, okay, chalta hai. That's where integrity comes, that's where accountability comes, that's where building trust, public trust comes. And they have to reform the way. So, leadership of bureaucracy and bench reforms, it automatically percolates, and the way corporate works will also work in that fashion. And that's why where it is today in a PPP mode, a lot of integration of all 3 systems of governance and working are there in India. They have to work in this tangent. Definitely that will bring a change for India.
Yes, that's a very relevant point about understanding public trust and accountability. So we move on to our next panelist, Mr. Prasad, for his thoughts.
Okay, I think, as I mentioned, when you talk about a bureaucracy, when you talk about at a government level, and you talk about the corporate, it's a scale that differs. But I don't think so that there's a principle, there's much difference in the principle. We have talked about what are the relevant thing or leadership principles from the bureaucracy that can be adopted for corporate governance. I think one of the things that stands clearly for me is transparency. The government and the government officials have always been subject to a lot of transparency and accountability in their job. In corporate governance, and having spent many years in the corporate, I still see that we are up in the journey. This is, and we have talked it in form of integrity, we have talked in the form of accountability, we have talked in various other leadership that we want to demonstrate. But I think there's one thing that the government has, and it is not that the government was always there. Government has evolved in its transparency rules. There has been so much of enforcement that has been built in for a public officer to be transparent, or government to be transparent. You have regulations like RTI. You can actually ask and seek any kind of a public information. A public officer is required to disclose the salary, is required to disclose his assets. Why all this? To bring a credibility towards it, that what he's doing it, and his remuneration is sufficient to probably create that kind of an assets. So he's always under public scrutiny. From a corporate governance perspective, I think transparency is, at this point, is non-negotiable. Ajay talked about investors' behavior, how in other economies these kinds of non-transparency or something which is kind of circumvention of some given law is looked at and viewed by the various authorities, and it is authorities, investors, individuals at a personal level. It has got an impact on it. So if I have to pick one leadership thing which we need to pick it up from the bureaucracy is it's on transparency.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way of understanding this entire issue about how non-negotiable this entire thing is about being credible and being transparent to the system. So that's something which definitely has implications for the corporate sector also. Thank you very much for sharing these thoughts. We move on to some other pertinent topics within this domain, whereby I would like you to shed some thoughts on the role of ESG, digital governance, data protection, or stakeholder activism. And as these are becoming more and more important, what do you think is going to define or redefine corporate governance in this particular evolving landscape? Or you could probably be talking about the massive potential for artificial intelligence, which is the word of the day, to change the way an organization is run. Just to set the context, nearly 80% of companies in a recent McKinsey report has mentioned that in areas such as workflows, business processes, and data generation and analysis, companies have been using AI. Now, boards are devoting more time and attention to discussing the use of AI within their organizations, including more than 62% of the directors reporting participation in full board discussions about AI policies for their companies. So I would want to know, how far do you think such adoptions may have implications for corporate governance? So these are some of the issues. You could just select one or just touch upon any of them as per your choice. So we'll start with Mr. Gupta for this.
Okay, thank you. I think I will cut short on this because as earlier I have mentioned, the phenomena into the telecom domain in which from where I am coming in, most of the people think that the digital transformation era is over and we are now heading towards generative AI. As I am also on the board of a company, the maximum discussions in the board as of now in the last 6 to 1 years is going that we should be educated on the AI, the impacts about it. The independent directors in the board generally ask, they go beyond asking that I just don't want to learn, I also want to learn what are the impacts negatively going for this AI to the society and a consumer in the company in which I am as a director. So generative AI is a term which is very much into play right now. We in the telecom currently advising to the board that the step number 1 is that there are many courses which are basics. We should be giving you, we should be taking you through all these courses. You first be, aware about what is actually this generative AI. How can it benefit to my company in terms of cost benefit analysis and all that. And as the bureaucracy and the judicial reforms progresses, we will come to know about the negative effects of the generative AI. I should not use the word negative because it will be taken into a wrong context now. It is not a negative, but responsible AI is the word which we are telling to the board that there should be a law in parallel which directs every corporate and every citizen of the country that AI is to be handled very responsibly. So as of now, we are with this and I'm handing over this to my fellow panelists on this.
Yes, thank you very much for highlighting the issue of understanding responsible AI in this particular context and its relevance for the telecom sector. Over to Ms. Rachna for her thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll first start with ESG. What is ESG? It's environment, social, and governance. All three aspects, not just the governance. So there are 3 aspects: environment, social, and governance. So here comes the role of leadership also. In an organization, how do you see who is the leader in a corporate? How do you decide who is the leader? In a corporate, there is a promoter who sets up the corporate. Then there are the board of directors who implements or manages the company. Then there are shareholders, there are employees, there are so many. Who is the leader? I would say a leader is a person who can make a proper bridge between the promoter and the overall compliance, governance, and also the keeping the interest of the shareholders and the stakeholders, keeping that interest in their favor. He tries to get the correct decisions taken by the management, by the promoters or whatever. So how do you do that? You have to ensure and you have to make it possible. You have to let them understand that once we follow all these policies, rules, regulations which are framed by the government. The government has done its job. They have made the various laws, rules, regulations. But who is to comply with and how do you comply? You have to ensure that you are able to explain and make them understand that this is profitable. Why a corporate is being promoted? To earn profit. So you have to make them understand this is profitable, how it is profitable. How do you ensure, how do you explain how it is profitable? Now, whose interest are we keeping? Shareholders. Who is the shareholder? Promoter is probably generally the biggest shareholder. And obviously, there are small shareholders. How do you keep their interest saved? And how it is profitable? So these days, an investor doesn't invest blindly. They take lot many things in consideration before investing in any company. What are these? Is it just the balance sheet and the profits? What is the balance sheet? No. It is not just the balance sheet. It is not just the numbers. There is much more than the numbers, which is beyond that. So now government has made the rules and the regulations. You have to make lots of disclosures about the environment, governance, social, everything. Like, what is your organization doing for environment? What are the products you are making? What are the inputs you are taking for manufacturing your products? What are you doing for the social? Like, for example, I would say HR. HR is part of social, I would say. Like, how many people you have engaged in your organization? These all disclosures we have to make in the annual report, at least for some few top listed entities. So what is that? You have to disclose how many males and females. Is there any child labor? What is the workman compensation? Have you paid? What are the complaints you have received from various shareholders or maybe from the customers? This all disclosure. These are the transparency things. An investor do read. A genuine big investors do look at this, that what is it in this company? What are the ethics? What ethics are you following? How good governed company you are? Then only a shareholder takes a decision to make an investment in your company. So this is what a leader has to explain. This is profitable. Once you are doing it, then only you can disclose it. So you have to first comply with all of that, whether it is environment, whether it is governance. Rules are there, but are you actually complying with it? So you have to comply and then report, and that will definitely impact on your market price. And it will ultimately improve the market cap. It will improve your own stakes in the company. This is how a leader has to play a very, very important role in complying with the ESG and making it understand that this is profitable, and this is how the things will come in line and the things you can really put in. And rightly, Mr. Gupta has already covered about the AI. So AI is the day these days. Everywhere it is being talked, but yes, it has to be taken care very, very responsibly, and we need to understand what could be the repercussions and how best we can use it. For example, it is being used in corporates a lot, since we are from legal background. So I would say simply writing an agreement. If you start writing an agreement, it will take around 3-4 days at least, if you're right. But if you use AI, you know the crux of the story, that what exactly you are looking forward to in that agreement. You will put it, you will get an agreement, a nicely drafted agreement. Yes, obviously you will add and customize it further, but yes, you can do it, that 4 days job, in half an hour. This is practically we have done. We all have been doing it. So this is how we have to use it, but we have to use it very, very responsibly. It's not that you have just drafted something through AI and it is final. Yes, you have to customize and see this is final, this how what amendments you have to do. So it has to be done responsibly. So this is what I would like to say. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for highlighting how corporate governance and business confidence is no longer just a function of the balance sheet items, but there's much more beyond that that one needs to look out for. Okay, over to our next panelist for his thoughts.
Yeah, so all of you who are in the first year of your MBA program, I can tell you for sure by the time you complete your PGDMA course, the world will change. So what the world looks to you today, in next 1.5 years, it is going to change. That's the speed at which technology is developing. So Gen AI was developed in November 2022. We are 3 years now. And see what has happened in the artificial intelligence or technology as a broader term in this world. There's huge investments that's happening in the AI world. So if you take the NASSCOM report, which is just a recent September 2024 report, it says that India's AI market is grow at a CAGR of 15 to 25% by 2027. That's the India market. Globally, the global AI market will grow up to $1,800 billion by 2030. Right? The talent pool in India is growing at a rate of 15% on a year to year. That's the massive growth that we are talking about, right? The India, and this is a NASSCOM report I'm referring to. The NASSCOM report says that the Gen AI startup has grown by 3.7 times by the first half of 2025, which is worldwide 9.5 times. That's the growth that we are, and there's a huge investments which is happening in the Gen AI and AI world. Now, if all these are happening, the world is changing, the world is moving. What is interesting today, which you will notice, that many of the organizations are integrating AI into their core domain, whether it is for augmentation, whether it is for automation or a business decisions, they are integrating AI into their core businesses. Now, why are they integrating into a core business? So the latest report of EY, where they linked the productivity of Gen AI, and they said that, is it really productive? So this report, EY report, came in just 2025, maybe June 2025. And they studied 10,000 roles in most of the prominent industries, which industries actually contribute to India's GDP. And 10,000 roles were studied. And then they decided, and they came out with a finding saying that 24% of this 10,000 roles can be fully automated. Right? And then they said that 46% of these roles, the total number of working hours can be slashed down by 8 to 9 hours per week. Which means what? Which means that the total workforce will go down. The productivity increases. And ultimately, when they linked it with the productivity, they said that in the organized sectors, this increases the productivity by 2.67%. And in the unorganized sector, it increases the productivity by 2.87%. So the linkage of the productivity, when you integrate AI into your businesses, and therefore the revenue increase, this is what is happening today. And as we progress further, the more and more AI will be integrated into the business. Many of the business decisions will be dependent on AI. Now, that's the positive side of AI. Let's also see the negative side of the AI. Now, AI is posing a lot of challenges. The cyber security, we talk about cyber security. India is the second largest in the world. Vulnerability, on a scale of vulnerability, second largest, where the lot of cyber attacks happen. Between 2019 to 2023, the total number of attacks on Indian government's websites were increased by 138%. And these are all reports, well documented reports I'm talking about. Right? So all the cyber securities, data privacy, data poisoning, data vulnerability, all these are going to, lot of this Gen AI, LLMs, large language models, which you see that the volumes of data are lying there. There is a huge possibility of leakages of these training data. Right? The AI which you train And ultimately, that AI will lead to a lot of challenges. Uh, there are a lot of issues on the AI, on the copyrighted materials. All of you must have read the copyrighted materials. The New York Times sued Microsoft, and they said that, look, they are using my copyrighted materials to create a chatbot, which chatbot is ultimately becoming my competitor. So the issues that is being debated today is, can anybody use the copyrighted materials? And there is a huge case which is pending before the Delhi High Court on this, right? So a lot of these actors which you see now, they are going for their personality rights protection. Right? Why is that? All that deep fake that you see today, these are all creation of AI. So people are going for their personality right protection through this judicial orders. So AI is going to pose a lot of challenges, both in terms of biases, both in terms of the accountability, all this. And so you see the EU AI Act, that's the first full scale legislation which has come on artificial intelligence. September 2024, EU AI Act was enacted. And they are saying that AI is good to develop, good for business decisions, but they said that please categorize your AI software or development into three categories: high risk, medium risk, and low risk, basis certain parameters. And they say that anything which is high risk is just not acceptable. Right. Many countries are struggling to devise a standalone legislation around AI. EU has been the pioneer, but many countries are struggling to devise a standalone legislation on artificial intelligence. Some countries like Singapore, UK, what they have done is they have amended their existing laws. So many countries have amended their data privacy laws, many countries have amended their Copyright Act, and they have incorporated some of these challenges. India, what we learn is that is still working towards having a standalone artificial intelligence act. We don't know, but they are looking into it. Information Technology Act is going to be replaced by a Digital Act. So a lot of things are happening in the world of technology as a broader term. When you come to AI, Gen AI, a lot of these things are going to change. As future leaders, what you should be mindful is that use AI with lot of intelligence and responsibility. Even the courts, Delhi High Court, Karnataka High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court, they have passed a judgment which says that use AI. There is no bar in usage of AI, but use it with caution. AI cannot substitute a human mind when it comes to pronouncement of a judgment. Use AI, but use it with a lot of cautions. So as young future leaders, my only message is use AI, use GNI, but don't lose your intelligence. Your intelligence is more important, and therefore use it with a lot of cautions on it.
Thank you very much for putting across quite a few important points here with the data that you also shared, showing how important it is becoming with the transformation in this sector. Okay, so we move on to Mr. Kharbanda for his thoughts.
As Amar has said that things are going to change on the AI side. I'll tell you, I was also reading some data a few days ago. Google is investing $77 billion in next 3 years on AI. They are transforming, they are shifting. They are saying they don't need coders now. What to build will be shifted to how to build. That's where they are creating efficiency. OpenAI is investing $150 billion on AI. Similar is the Microsoft. In India also, when I saw, TCS is also this year has taken in its balance sheet the spending on AI of $7 billion. So that's how the things are changing. Things will change in next 2 years. You are the young leaders, you can adopt probably this technology change much faster than we. But definitely the way things are changing is remarkable. And when we look at how businesses are adopting this, particularly when I say about technology absorption and ESG framework in our airport sector, at GMR, what we work for, first and foremost goal for us is public safety and environment protection. I'll tell you when many years ago, stakeholders are also, as we had seen, that emerging as one of the tools of governance, and stakeholders are many when we see for ourselves or for any corporate. stakeholders are not only the customers and users and the government, but also the people who are impacted by our actions are other stakeholders. What we see that with our airport operations, not only users get benefited, government gets benefited, but also we have least impact on the people who are affected by our operations, both on the environment side and the social governance side. When some stakeholders raise a lot of queries for an upcoming new airport in Goa, as we know, we have a process of environment clearance, and in any environment clearance, a lot of aspects are seen, a lot of procedural elements are involved. So there were many aspects which were captured in our environment clearance given by the Committee of Environment. From our side, we proposed to the government, to the Supreme Court also, what additional measures we already have thought of beyond EC conditions which we will adopt for creating more environment friendly airport, more social governance aspects, how we will do that and what is the path we are thinking of to adopt. That's how any today stakeholder will get satisfied for your actions. You have to be intuitive, you have to be innovative, and first and foremost thing which I would tell everybody of you is don't be reactive, try to become proactive in your approach. That will make the difference in our working of any leaders. And definitely the way things are changing in terms of decision making, AI is going to make a lot of difference. But with caution, AI cannot replace human mind. That's wherever you will look at about AI, this is the first and foremost thing is taught. Use AI for your benefit of decision making, but do not blindfoldly depend on it. That's where we have to shape our thinking, shape our working going forward. And as a young leaders, you have to adopt and create balance between both of your mind and the technology adoption.
Thank you very much for re-emphasizing the role of ESG in this context and the path to adopting the same for effective governance in the future. We move on to our last panelist for his thoughts before we open the floor to maybe 2 questions given the interest of time, given it's lunchtime. So we will probably just have 2 quick questions before we wrap up the session. But before that, we are eager to look forward to his thoughts.
Okay. Okay. I think I'll try and address this in a little different way. I think evolution, transformation, innovation, whatever we may say is going to be there. Today we are talking about AI. Tomorrow I think there would be something else or some more innovative version of AI that may be there. I think I would like to focus this on to say that what are these changes that brings an impact? How does it impact corporate governance? What is expected of the directors sitting in the boardroom who are the trustee, custodian of the organization, shareholders, responsible to regulators in various forms? So as I mentioned, these changes are going to happen. There would be, and there would be situations, as Amar pointed out, that except for EU, probably there is no other country which has been able to have a documented legislation on AI. And we use AI everywhere else. So the question is that how should board react to these kinds of it? What is board's responsibility towards these innovation? Should they curtail it? Should they create some guardrails? Should they adopt some best practice? How should they prepare themselves for these kinds of innovation? Because this is going to be there. And to me, it's not one size that would fit all. You have to be. And that is why you need experts on the board. You need people from different aspects of or different fields with different expertise to support it, because there can be a marketing person who can voice his agenda most vociferously if you don't have somebody else from an IT who may see the extreme challenges Amar was talking about, cybersecurity, or with respect to any other data loss that it would happen. So I think as a board, in this kind of an environment where innovation is key and probably a one of the business enablers or a profitable aspect of any part of a business, board has to be very agile, and board has to be very preemptive in their approach with respect to these changes. They have to keep themselves updated. What is the impact of these kinds of changes that is there? And I also believe that sometimes it is easier to look into the consequence effect, to say that if things were to go wrong and if I had operated and I have probably reduced my workforce by 10%, and suppose because of something, if my IT people there's a breakdown, the consequence is that the customers get impacted. So how do you manage that kind of a risk? How you are building on this? So I think the point that I'm trying to drive here is that board here has to be agile than ever before. They have to keep themselves updated. There has to be a continuous training actually for the board of directors. They need to be equipped to make these decisions, and that would bring and that demands a lot of time and agility from these individuals. So you creating a board and equipping with the best of technology or best of support would be one of the critical things that all the organizations in the private sector would be looking at.
Thank you very much for summing it up, because this perfectly fits the broad theme of this particular episode of Conventus, where we are talking about agility and how important it is when the next generation enters the boardroom. So that's wonderful to listen to all your thoughts, and we'll probably wrap up the session. Before that, 2 quick questions from the audience, and just let us know in case you have a directed question, you want someone, any particular panelist to answer the question. Anyone from the audience? We'll just have time to pick up 2 questions. Anyone? Yes, maybe you could.
Good afternoon, panelists. Thank you so much for this insightful session. So my question is, how can digital innovations used by government agencies be applied to streamline processes in corporate settings?
Okay. Any particular panelist whom you would want to answer this question, or it's open?
To
okay, and your name, please?
I am Asmi.
Okay. Thank you, Asmi, for raising this question. Would any one of you want to talk about it?
So the question was, how can digital be used to streamline government processes? Was that the question?
Was that how can digital innovations that are used by the government agencies can be streamlined in corporate settings?
Okay. There are various examples. So it is already being used. So what comes to my mind is if you travel in Delhi airport, you see DG Yatra. That's another example of the use of technology. And how convenient your life has become when you use DG Yatra. So Delhi is just one. There are a number of airports where DG Yatra is used, and there are a number of airports where it is likely to be used in a short span of time. So all these technologies are being used to make the life comfortable for all of us. How many of us can think of a life without WhatsApp? So tomorrow, if the Meta says that no WhatsApp for anybody, life will become very different from what it is today. You see Paytm. How many of us can think of a life without Paytm today? See how we are getting adapted to these changes which is being brought in. Digital payment is India is one of the largest in terms of the total digital payment across the world, and many countries are lining up with India to adopt this digital payment. So all these digital innovations that the government is adopting is integrating with the convenience and the comfort of all of us. But as I said earlier, you have to be little careful, because the other side of this digital innovation is the scams, the cyber security, the cyber crimes. So one has to be a little careful on that.
Okay, thank you very much for highlighting these issues. We did talk about digitization and the role that it's going to play. I guess given that we have other summits also lined up after this, I wish we could carry on with these discussions. We couldn't really do justice given how relevant this particular topic is. So we would like to wrap up this particular session by saying that, of course, the message is very clear, given the points that were discussed, that whether it's in the public or private offices, one thing which comes out quite clearly is that the leaders may actually reimagine governance not as a mere compliance issue, but as a strategic lever which is absolutely essential for long-term trust, impact, and competitiveness, which is going to be sustainable. With these thoughts in mind and some of the other issues as highlighted by our esteemed panelists, I would like to end the session here by thanking each one of them for taking time out on a Sunday afternoon and for letting us know more about their experience and their thoughts on the relevance of the public sector reforms and how they have important implications for corporate governance in the Indian landscape. Thank you very much. Thank you once again for this particular session. Thank you.
On behalf of everyone present here, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speakers. We would now request Professor Ayona Bhattacharjee to felicitate the speakers. Mr. D.K. Gupta.
Ms. Rachana Goria.
Mr. Amar Sundaram.
Mr. Ajay Kharbanda.
Mr. Anuranjan Prasad. Now we request the Joint Secretary of Residential Affairs Committee, Jay Patavri, to felicitate our moderator, Professor Ayona Bhattacharjee. The Legal Innovation and Leadership Summit highlighted how transparency, technology, and responsible leadership are reshaping governance. Discussions focused on digital transformation, integrity, ESG integration as vital to building trust and accountability. Experts emphasized collaboration between government and corporates to drive policy reforms and the need for strong internal systems for effective implementation. The summit concluded that the innovation, compliance, and ethical leadership together form the foundation of a transparent and future-ready governance framework. We also extend our sincere thanks to our moderator for guiding this enriching conversation.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of the Conventus 2025 Legal Innovation Leadership Summit, let us pause to reflect on the rich insights and visionary ideas shared throughout today's sessions. Together, we explored how insights from the bureaucracy and the bench can transform corporate governance, fostering agility, transparency, and ethical leadership in today's evolving business landscape. A sincere thank you to our distinguished speakers for their deep expertise and inspiring stories, to our participants for your engaging questions and discussions, and to our dedicated organizers and committee for making this summit possible. Each of you has contributed to making today a forum of learning and collaborative growth.
We also extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our esteemed sponsors for their invaluable support in making Conventus 2025, the annual management conclave of IMI Delhi, a grand success. A special thanks to our title sponsor, Bank of Baroda, whose partnership has been instrumental in bringing this event to life. We are equally thankful to our co-sponsor, RPSG, and our Finance Summit sponsor, Indian Bank, for their continued encouragement. Our appreciation also goes to ICICI Bank, banking partner, LIC insurance partner, HFCL, telecom solutions partner, and STEM Executive Search Private Limited, sustainability partner, for their support in diverse domains. We sincerely thank Key Properties, real estate partner, Phoenix Global, learning partner, Royal Enfield, exploration partner, Vanessa Care, fragrance partner, Plum Love and Body, bath and body care partner, Go Grab, convenience partner, White Heaven, entertainment partner, and Fever FM, media partner, for enriching this experience of Conventus 2025. Your collaboration and trust continue to inspire us to make every edition of Conventus bigger, bolder, and better. Thank you for being a part of Conventus 2025. Wishing you all continued success, safe travels, and see you all at the next summit. Now we would like to request the Joint Secretary of Residential Affairs Committee, Jay Patavri, to present the token of appreciation sponsored by Plum to our female speaker and moderator. I would now invite the moderators, speakers, and the whole team of Residential Affairs Committee for a group picture. Everybody respond to your roll calls. PGDM 1, 7, 8, 9, 13, 14, 16, 17,